I like ribs, like good pork spare ribs. Mmm, yum. I mean, who doesn't love them? Well, vegans, but that's another matter. Anyways, until recently, I wasn't successful. I wasn't able to achieve all my objectives when cooking spare ribs. I want them to be fall off the bone tender. I've seen videos where they can just twist the bone and it slides right out clean from the meat, fall off the bone tender. I want them to be moist, juicy. I don't want them to be dried out. I want them to taste good, of course, so a nice barbecue sauce, and I want them to be quick and easy. I don't want to spend 6, 8 hours slow cooking ribs on the grill. I have a friend who does that, and I've had the ribs, and they're good, right? But what if you don't have 6 to 8 hours? What if you want to just get the food on the table fairly quickly? That's what this video is going to be about, shortcuts. So let's make some ribs. Here's my shortcut. This is the trick that I learned from videos on YouTube. I'm going to use the pressure cook function in my Instant Pot. Take the lid off. I'm going to put my trivet in there, and I'm going to put about a cup of water or so in the bottom because I'm going to do pot in pot or pan in pan cooking. I'm going to use a stainless steel bowl, but I have to prep this first. Here are my ribs. They've been marinating in a plastic bag, and not for very long. America's Test Kitchen did a test on marinade, and they found that anything beyond 20 minutes is a waste of time because the flavor isn't going to go deep into the meat. Just going to flavor the surface, unless you have one of those injectors where you can inject marinade inside the meat. I have one of those, but the meat on ribs is so small that there's no point in using an injector. Now, I'm going to save this marinade. Another reason for not marinating 8, 10, 24 hours. You don't want bacteria to build up in there. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to use that later. Wipe my hands here. And then what I do is I use a piece of string, go through the rings, and then tie the string at one end. I'm going through a few times to do a surgeon's knot, and then lock it, trim off the ends, and then what that gives me is something I can use to lift this out of the Instant Pot when the bowl is really hot, right? Okay, I can put my ribs in there, and there's a reason for doing pot in pot. You'll understand that in a bit. Close up, plug in my Instant Pot. Okay, there's a little valve here that's venting or sealing. Set it to sealing. Press the pressure cook function. It's already set to 25 minutes. Going to let that cook for 25 minutes. The silver button just went down. That took about 20 minutes after the cooking time. I'll let it depressurize naturally. And then I can open this up carefully. It's hot in there. And then, this is what the string is for. I can take this out, and I'm done with my Instant Pot. I lined the basket of my air fryer with foil, and I'm going to take my ribs. Let's see if I can do this. Doesn't look very pretty right now, but going to put those in there meat side up. And this is the reason why I did pot in pot or pan in pan, is that liquid in there. And what I'm going to do with that is first, I'm going to transfer it. How hot is this? It's not too hot. I'm going to transfer this to a measuring cup. Only so that I can just take the fat off the top. There isn't a lot. I don't know whether you can see. There's just a little bit of fat on the top. But I want to skim that off. Or at least some of it, most of it. That's enough. Then I'm going to pour this into a skillet. And I'm going to add, because I'm going to turn this into a barbecue sauce, some honey, just a tablespoon or two. And then this is some barbecue sauce that someone gave me, and someone makes it. It's from North Carolina. Someone makes it there, sells it at like swap meets and so forth. You can tell by the label it's not a store product. There's no barcode. There's no keep refrigerated. After opening, just going to take the lid off and pour a little bit of this barbecue sauce in there. It's a barbecue sauce slash, I would consider it slash marinade. I'm going to clean that top off before I put the lid back on. And then I'm going to put this on the stove and start thickening this. Meanwhile, I covered my ribs with some foil. Let that rest for a little while I'm thickening the sauce. This is just coming up to the boil. I'm going to take out my red handled tasting spoon here and just get a little taste of it. Should be slightly sweet, and it should have a slightly sour flavor from it, from the vinegar. And it's good. Oh, that's good. That's a nice flavor. It's a bit of a sharp flavor because that barbecue sauce has a little bit of spicy kick to it. And I'm going to stay with this the whole time while I'm reducing this down. I want to get this down to almost a syrup. Remember that marinade? I'm going to put that in there as well. I'm going to bring this back up to a boil and then really reduce this down. I just turned the heat off under this. It's thickened down quite a bit. Watch what happens. See how slowly it flows back in again? You can leave a trace with the spatula. All right, now let's return to the ribs. All right, here is my thickened sauce. I can take the foil off that meat. I have a brush here that I'm going to use to brush the top of this with plenty of sauce. And what's going to happen, by the way, that sauce took 10 minutes to thicken. I'm not going to put it all on the meat, but what's going to happen here is that honey will cause this sauce to char a little bit to give me like a somewhat of a blackened top, like you were cooking on a grill. I'm going to put this in my air fryer. I'm going to push my central button. Temperature, I'm going to move this down to 250, and then I'm going to set the time for 30 minutes. The timer just went off on this, so check out what that looks like. Nicely browned. And again, that's because of that honey. It's going to brown, even blacken a little bit. I've got a little more sauce here I'm going to put on top. And then let that sit for 5 minutes so that it rests. This has had a chance to rest a little bit. And let's see, I think there's a small rib there. This is really only 2 pieces. And let's see if I can look at how that bone just came right out. See, that's fall off the bone tender. And I'm going to see if I can section this, because there we go. I'm going to put this piece on my plate, and this piece I'm going to give to a neighbor, the neighbor who gave me the barbecue sauce. So I'll put that on my plate, this on his plate, this on my plate. There's actually nothing on there but a little bit of barbecue sauce. And then what I've got is, earlier I made some seasoned potato wedges, and I just put them under the broiler to crisp them up again. And I think that should be a nice portion. I'll give some to my neighbor as well. And what I also did is I took one of the tomatoes off my tomato plant, and I made a little salad for myself. This is a little dressing of herbs, oil, and vinegar. That should be enough. And now I can taste my dinner. Okay, here we are. You're supposed to eat ribs with your fingers, but I've got a huge piece and then a piece that came off, so I'm gonna pick that up, make sure that it has sauce on it. Wonderfully tender. Oh, that's good. That is so good. It's not all dried out. That sauce came out fantastic. And then potato wedges. I really like potato wedges. And my salad. Okay. Excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy my dinner.